Well, the interesting things, I think there's a few things that I'm really excited about and that I think are growing and have been growing over the last few years. One is that the crisis has meant that people are doing more things like participatory budgeting. They're doing more things, and it's not just the budgeting, it's actually sharing the trade-offs with ordinary people. I've got a friend in Canada who runs the Deliberative Democracy Consortium, Matt Leniger, and he speaks about how the old relationship between citizen and the state was an adult-child relationship. And actually we're moving towards an adult-adult relationship where instead of doing like you would with a child, perhaps if you have economic problems and you try and hide it from the child, you actually say, look, we've got a problem here, we've got difficult trade-offs to make, we can't afford all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You share that with people and people rise to the occasion. You treat people like children, you hide things from them, you treat them like they don't understand the issue, and oftentimes they behave like children. So in a way we're in the troubled teens of democracy, where we're shifting from child-adult to adult-adult relationships. A second thing which is happening, which is really exciting, is obviously that people are using the internet more, and people are wising up to the fact that it's not the 90s, and the internet isn't just something that the rich and middle class use. Actually, it's a tool which can be used incredibly widely. And if you're looking at mobile phones as a platform, for example, the potential is massive in terms of reaching people. Mm-hmm. So that's another area where I'm very excited about. And the third area where I think there's lots of really useful stuff is informal engagement. Engagement doesn't have to be a council document on a website. It doesn't have to be you having to go to the council, to the town hall on a Tuesday afternoon. It could just as easily be the council coming to you, the hospital coming to you, and it could more importantly, it could just as easily be you working with other people to make things happen in your local neighbourhood without any kind of activity coming from the government, from the top down. So that, I think, the potential of the crisis actually leading to people actually doing things for themselves is actually quite exciting. I'm the deputy director of Involve now, but I actually started out as an intern at another organisation, and that internship then got me a post at Involve, and I worked my way up. So I can really sort of sympathise with the position that many people watching this video might be in. Now, for many people, it's a really tough job market out there, but I'd say that for this area, and human rights and development and that whole field, it's probably always been very difficult to get in. If I were to give some advice to someone about what to do, I'd say there's a few things. I think I got my first role, not so much for my degree, but for the other stuff I'd done. Some volunteering I'd done at an international NGO, working for a student union, being active in a number of other things, and having written a few things for a student newspaper. Anything that makes you stand up. So embrace those opportunities as much as you can. Not everyone can afford to do a formal internship, but maybe you can at least volunteer in the weekend or do something which will set you apart. Because when we advertise for entry-level positions, we get hundreds of CVs. And what really sets people apart is usually not the degree, it's what you've done around your degree. So embrace any volunteering opportunities you can. If you are able to get yourself published in any way, in a student magazine or on the web, or writing a blog, or anything that shows that you have some new interesting thoughts, that's also a really great way of making yourself stand out. Another thing I'd say is that it's really very important that to show initiative, because when you're working in a small charity or a small organisation of any kind, I think it's really most people, the people who are working with you won't have time to give you directions all the time and tell you what to do. So what I look for in someone who's going to come work for us is a sense that they're going to be able to motivate themselves. They're going to be able to take a very draft outline brief of what I want and go and work with that, and they won't need micromanaging. So anything you can do to show that you are a bit of a self-starter, you're able to take general instructions and turn them into something concrete, that's great. And don't be afraid to read up about the organisations and have thoughts about where it's headed. You know, sometimes I've had people come to me and be perhaps a bit challenging and say, I like this about your organisation, I didn't like this quite as much. And I usually find that's quite refreshing, that people have taken the time to understand the organisation and have thoughts about where it's headed.